Welcome to a Fate Awakens production. This is not a one-shot. This is not part of our normal campaign. This is not an interview. This is not a mini-set. This is something completely new that we're doing in honor of something D&D related that has come up that Wizards has put out. If you are a fan of D&D, you may be a fan of this as well. It's a little game called Magic the Gathering.
Magic the Gathering!
Also made by Wizards, so it makes sense, even though it's taken a lot of years for them to come up with this idea.
They finally did it. They finally crossed the streams.
Those madmen, they finally did it. They've crossed the streams, and they've come out with a set called Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. The Forgotten Realms, of course, being kind of the main setting Wizards has created for D&D 5e.
Yeah, really just the default 5e setting. I think it's safe to say the majority of modules and adventures that come out are Forgotten Realms compliant. And of course, so it kind of makes sense when they tried to pivot into Magic, the crossover that they started in Forgotten Realms. So
right. And so I don't expect we'll see any cards here opening this. What is it? 36 booster pack.
Should be 36. Yeah,
36 booster pack from stuff like any of the other realms. Like I don't expect there to be a card about any of the stuff from like Curse of Strahd, right? That's a different place.
All Forgotten Realms. I think that's technically Ravenloft. The Ravenloft is weird. They kind of hop around planes. Yeah. It's like a demi-plane. But yeah, this is going to be all Forgotten Realms. And this is a draft booster, not a set booster, so every card in this should be in that set. There shouldn't be anything from Magic's past either. There's the list, if anyone knows what that is. This is all Forgotten Realms, so we are pure D&D right now.
Pure D&D for sure.
Which is, that's our jam.
Yeah. This is going to be exciting to open. We're going to, in the beginning, kind of go through everything. Commons, uncommons, rares, mythics if we get them. Fingers crossed.
Because there's some fantastic art on some of cards that are just not very good, but have fantastic art. So we'll let you guys in on that. Yeah. At least in the beginning. Then we'll kind of speed up once we start hitting the duplicates, because that's how Magic works.
Yeah, once we start hitting duplicates, we're going to say, oh, look, another one. But there are some duplicates, I believe, that are in a different art style that are meant to kind of pay homage to the old
school
art style.
Of like old Monster Manual sketches, basically. I think they call them sketches. There's so many variants of Magic now, but some of them are super cool.
They really are. And you guys are going to see that here pretty soon. So, Thomas, would you like to do the honors of the plastic of our first wrap?
Let's do it.
You're going to see, if you're familiar with D&D storyboards or anything at all, you're going to see a lot of familiar things from the Monster Manual. You're going to see a lot of familiar characters that may be very popular in D&D throughout. So
I kind of destroyed the box. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. Okay, we ready to go?
Yeah, let's maybe get a little bit of art of just kind of what a booster looks like.
Yeah, a lot of times, interesting, Magic has multiple arts on their boosters. This one's just, I think it's just Drizzt and Guinevere.
Just all the same.
It's all the same, so I don't know if that was a cautious decision. They were just like, yeah, it's fine. But yeah, all right. You want to start us off?
Yes, I will. Opening pack is my crack, and I really like it. There are going to be, as with kind of every Magic the Gathering new set, they usually introduce kind of a different condition or rule.
A couple new mechanics.
That will happen. And when we get to those, we are going to explain it. But we may go through a couple before we get kind of a good example of how we work in tandem. So, for this video, we're going to assume you know a little bit about Magic. If you want to learn the game, you can go on any number of websites or YouTube channels to find.
Yeah, there's a ton of resources. If you want to play Magic, they make it easy.
Yeah, they do. And so I'm, for most of this, going to assume you know how to do that already. If not, you can stick around for our flavor text and the art and all that, Jim.
Skip to here if you just want the opening.
Right. So, kick in the door. One mountain, sorry, I'm leaning forward. Put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature. That creature gains haste until the end of turn and can't be blocked by walls. Getting around walls in Magic, we know, is good because they're just big, dumb blocks that prevent you from killing who you want to kill.
Yeah, this is like my favorite thing with this set. Even like draft chaff uncommons like this that are just really no one's going to play outside of limited formats. Just the flavor is just so cool because that's the thing that happens in D&D all the time. You just kick in doors,
right?
And as we move on, there's a lot of cards that are just like things that happen in D&D,
right? And like, oh, you tried lockpicking 3 times. You're like, all right, I'm gonna bust this shit down instead. And they all have some flavor text too as well, which I like to read. We tried your way. Now we do it my way. Alright. Next up, we got our Compelled Duel, which is a spell from D&D, obviously.
Notorious Paladin spell, I believe.
Yeah, Paladins are like, I want to fight you. So it makes sense that target creature, probably whoever you want to attack, is going to get +3/+3 until the end of turn, and must be blocked. So.
Alrighty. I'll keep these over here.
Half-Elf Monk. All right, so we're gonna see some cards that aren't too specific. Half-Elf Monk is not an individual person, of course, but it is a race and class from D&D that goes together.
I will say, interesting. This is the first time. I'm pretty confident saying this is the first time we've had like dual races. This is a human and an elf, and that's supposed to simulate it's a half-elf. I don't believe they've ever done that before. Wizards ever done that before. And when it comes, there's a couple like human elves, and when I saw it, I was like, "Wait, what? How does that work?"
Well, and it's like if you want to have an elf deck or a human deck, bringing something into commander or something like that, it would be effective. So this is one of our new mechanics that I think everyone who's played D&D is going to recognize. So they have implemented rolling a d20 to determine what a card will do. Most of the time, I think all the time, the higher you roll, generally it's better.
Yep, they either follow the format of natural ones do something bad, and then all the medium ranges are like a normal like power level, and the natural 20 is something absurd for the mana value. There's a couple that are different, but for the most part, every card and every roll the dice card in the main set that you can get in draft boosters are d20s. There are cards, I don't know if you know this, there are cards outside the set in some of the commander decks that roll other dice, d6s, d4s, but everything in this set is going to be d20s. They kept it simple for the main set, which I think is smart.
Yeah, I got a commander deck yesterday. It was the one doing dungeons, which we'll talk about later.
Yep. That
has even certain characters rolling a d8, rolling a d10, d4. It's interesting. So here we have another roll card. It's a Fireball.
Farida's Fireball. I believe Farida was the protagonist of the Brimstone Angels books from what's author's name?
I'm not sure.
Aaron Evans, I believe is her name. But yeah, it's just like a. If you haven't read those, they're pretty solid. But yeah. Farida the Tiefling.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll get Edmund's Chromatic Orbit.
Probably not. But that would be pretty dope.
Vampire Spawn, pretty basic.
Generic.
Losing life, gaining life, as vampires do.
Good in draft. Not all that interesting outside.
Bull Strength, kind of a typical buff, and as green does, it gives you trample, of course.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it? It's green.
Yep. Bull Strength, I think, was a spell in 3.5, and in 5th edition, it's reduced to a subsection of enhanceability. If you cast enhanceability and use on Strength, it's like that part of it. It's called Bull Strength, or like Cat's Grace.
Right.
Owl's Wisdom. But yeah, interesting that they gave it a card since it's not really a spell in 5e.
Yeah. Genie Windseer, blue, so one of our higher flying classes for sure, and another d20.
Yep.
We're going to see a lot of familiar stuff here with the colors and how they work, obviously.
Rolling dice.
But just with the added mechanic of the card can get better based off your roll.
Yep. One of the more controversial implementations of Magic. A lot of people aren't sure how they feel about that, but I like it.
Yeah, not knowing what you're going to get out of a card can be bad, and especially if you are attempting for maybe a lower roll, because it might mess up your game somehow.
Chaos is chaos.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Standard Death Touch here. Basilisk.
Basilisk, standard, kind of classic D&D monster. Big thing you don't want to deal with.
Shattering Skeletons. I really like the art on this card. And this is the first one that talks about venturing into the dungeon. When we pull a dungeon card, we will get into that. But in essence, there are cards that you can move through using a counter or something, and by completing a dungeon, certain cards do certain things better, or there's even spots in the dungeon that give you certain advantages. But that'll be easier to explain once we have a dungeon card to look at.
We're basically going to hold off until we get at least one or two dungeons, and then we'll go do a deep dive into dungeons, because it's a pretty interesting and unique mechanic that I guess they could revisit, but I don't see them ever really expanding on outside of the Forgotten Realms set.
Yeah. I would highly doubt that. I think they literally took Dungeons and Dragons literally, and they were like, maybe we should just do dungeons.
There's a bunch of dungeons and a bunch of dragons.
Right.
And dice.
This is our first uncommon. Target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls phases out. Now, phases out, I believe, is a fairly new mechanic, right?
So, phases out is actually super old to the fact where, like, it's almost obscure. Mm-hmm. Like, they haven't really printed a phasing thing outside of one or two copies of it in, like, commander decks. So, they randomly brought it back, which is crazy. Phasing, not something you see every day.
And it's just basically exile for a turn. Right?
It's exiled for a turn, but it never actually leaves the battlefield. So there's a guy I like to watch. He used to explain. He answered Magic questions. Mm-hmm. And whenever anyone would ask him about phasing, he'd just say, "Just imagine you had a solo cup. Just put a solo cup over the card. It's still there, but you can't interact with it. It doesn't exist. And when you phase back in, you move the cup away. It's still there. It just doesn't exist for a turn.
Right.
Pretend just like it's covered.
Yeah."
So, interesting they brought it back. It was never gone for good, but pretty
obscure. Not a lot of cards using it.
Yep.
So whenever equipped creature attacks, it gains Death Touch till the end of turn.
What you got there?
This is our Reaper's Talisman. It only costs 1 and only 2 to equip. So
cheap equipment.
Cheap equipment. I'm a big fan of. Kind of like that vampire we saw earlier, but obviously equipment can move from person to person. So,
and we kind of skipped over it, but this Divine Smart here was the first of the uncommons. This is our second uncommon, so we are out of the common slot, we're into the uncommons.
Yes, and now
which means we're close to the rare slot.
Yes, so we are on our third uncommon slot. Enters the battlefield. So this is another one of those dungeon cards. So when he enters, we're going to progress into our dungeon, which we'll explain. And at the beginning of your turn, if you've completed a dungeon, so we'll get to that later, but something even better happens, right? So completing dungeons is going to be big for a lot of decks. I believe there's a commander deck that focuses solely on, like, I want all my dungeons to get done fast.
There sure is. All right, was that all the uncommons?
That's all the uncommons, and now we're on our rare. So
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep. So if you weren't paying attention, that's 10 commons, 3 uncommons, and a rare slot is going to be the format of all these packs. Set boosters are a little bit different, but these are draft boosters, so that's going to be our format moving forward.
All right, so this is a legendary creature, which means if you wish, you can use it as your commander, and it has magical tinkering. I actually haven't seen this card before.
Oswald Fiddlebender.
Yeah.
Gnome Artificer.
So I haven't seen this one before. I opened a couple packs last night, actually. So sacrifice an artifact. Search your library for an artifact with mana equal to +1. So it's upgrading your artifacts card, for sure. Okay.
If anyone's familiar with, like, Birthing Pod or Arkham Daxon, you just sacrifice a small thing, get a big thing. Yeah. And it makes sense flavor-wise, because, he's a little artificer, so takes little trinkets, makes them bigger. All right, I think that's...
Now, we'll go on to our land. I will say one thing I really like about all the lands in this is all of our lands have flavor text. So, a quote from book or show or, anything D&D that might relate to such a thing.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to read every single bit of flavor text on the land. We'll leave some of that for you guys, but we'll give you one or two just so you get the idea.
And as we come to kind of especially cool ones, that'll be what we go for. And here is a little treasure token. That is basically going to be on a lot of cards. It's basically a mechanic to where you sacrifice it and you add a mana of any color. Just a little mana help if you need it.
Treasure has existed for a little while in Magic, at least 2 or 3 years. But it's kind of been like 1 or 2 cards per set give you treasure. Never been a whole lot, but this is a D&D set, and they appropriately overloaded the set with treasure. There's just so much treasure in the set, which honestly makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, that's our pack 1. And as we said, as we move forward, we'll do these quicker and quicker and quicker. I'm just kind of diving.
Once we start getting doubles, especially.
Oh, I spoiled it. I saw what I was getting. Okay. First rare, you see a guard approach. These are one of those just peak chaos of Dungeons and Dragons card. I think, is this the first one where, this is the first one where there's 2 options. And if you think about it, what is it? I can't read this. My eyes are bad.
There, you'll see a lot of cards that give you a situation as their title. You see a guard approach. Choose one.
What do you do?
Would you like to distract the guard, hide, or whatever? This one is distract the guard or hide. So distract the guard, you tap a target creature. If you choose to hide, target creature you control gains hexproof until the end of turn. So very situational, and for only 1 mana, it's not too bad to have a card that does 2 different things. It's multi-purpose, and that's going to help a lot of people.
All these are modal cards. They can do multiple things. Don't do anything great. They do a couple different things pretty okay.
Yeah.
Oops, cheating. Hey, look, thieves' tools. Got any rogues in house?
Yeah. Oh, there is another mechanic too about classes that we haven't even seen yet.
Yeah, we'll get there.
That's cool too.
Thieves' tools, make a thieves' tools check, break into things. Appropriately, you equip it on any creature, any weak creature, and it can't be locked. Makes perfect sense.
Yep.
Your chests are not safe. All your treasure belong to me because I have thieves' tools. Secret door.
Our first defender, first wall.
Yeah. Not much to say about it. It's they have to make a couple walls per set for limited reasons. It blocks.
Yeah.
Secret door.
I tried making a straight up wall deck, and just to be annoying, by the way. I was just like, maybe they'll run themselves out of cards.
I guess interesting to note, the secret door does let you venture into the dungeon, which makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, another roll the dice card, swarming goblins. This one, there's 3 options. If you roll 1 through 9, you get 1 goblin. If you roll 10 through 19, you get 2 goblins. If you roll natural 20, you get 3 goblins when it comes into play. So,
and the downside of this being common, it costs 5.
Yeah.
Right? So rolling a 1 through 9, you just spent 5 mana on a 1/1 goblin.
Yeah, well, I mean, it comes with a 4/3, but still, it's much better if you roll higher.
Yeah.
And that is, the variance of I guess, the D20 system.
Right.
But moving along, Devour Intellect. This card is, I think, pretty cool. If anyone knows Thoughtseize, which is just, 1 black, you take a card out of their hand. This is basically a upgraded version of Thoughtseize if you have a treasure. So if you just cast it normally for 1 black, you choose an opponent, and that opponent looks at their hand and gets to choose any card, so they get rid of their weakest card. But if you cast it off of a treasure, and like I said, there's a ton of treasure in the set, they lose the best card. So it's way better if you're running a whole bunch of treasures.
And I like the art for that one for sure. The Intellect Devourers are super sick, and I thought they were kind of the perfect. If anyone's played the Baldur's Gate pre-release video game that they've been doing for D&D, it's super cool.
Bunch of Mind Flayer stuff.
Yeah.
Green card, Find the Path. It's a druid spell.
Enchant your lands if you're into that.
Yeah. Not much to say there. It's just a ramp spell. Not really going to be much in standard. Just
green has so many ramp spells.
Limited stuff. It fits the niche. They kind of got to fit it in. This card's fun. +2 mace. Hey, guess what +2 mace does?
+2/+2.
Hey,
I haven't seen this one yet, but I love it.
It does exactly what you think it does. Again, not much to talk about. It's big dumb equipment. They need it for the limited format. But it's really funny that I look at the cards like, oh, +2 mace. So that's interesting. What's it do? +2. I should have saw that coming.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're like, I could have guessed.
Morn Canaan's Polymorph.
Ooh.
I wish this card was cooler.
Yeah, I haven't seen this one either. So obviously we're going to see a couple different cards that have names you might recognize from the book, or any of the books, like the actual hardcover stuff. I got a Volo's something yesterday. Yeah. I don't remember what it was, but...
Volo exists.
Yeah.
Morn Canaan, very classic wizard. I believe Morn Canaan himself was originally from like Greyhawk or something. I don't quote me on it, but I think Morn Canaan was like Gary Gygax's actual like player character, wizard. It was either his or someone in his group. Yeah. Mordenkainen is actually a Planeswalker in this set. Maybe we'll pull one and I can dive deeper into it.
I wasn't sure if this set even had Planeswalkers.
It does have Planeswalkers. If we get one, I have opinions on the Planeswalkers, but I'll spare you guys.
Are they one of those ones that at the bottom they say like this can be used with your commander? Wizard of the Coast, like roundabout way to say no.
I hope we do get a Planeswalker because I have a couple opinions. Another Basilisk, like I said, we won't talk about it because we pulled one already. Grim Bounty.
Okay, destroy target creature or planeswalker, create a treasure.
Get a treasure.
Hey, it's black being black, you know?
So if you kill a creature and then follow it up with that Intellect Devourer, and you kill their best creature, take their best card out of their hand.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty strong and limited.
Yeah.
All right. More Thieves stuff. Checker Traps.
Yep.
It's pretty... This card, I was playing a draft before I got here, and I died to this thing because I didn't realize, I've been playing the set for like 3 weeks now. Yeah. It deals you a damage if you don't take an instant, and I was at 1. I was like, okay, I'll take their best card, and they didn't have an instant, and then it killed me because I do not read cards. So, yeah, if you take it's 2 mana, you look at their hand, you take their best card. If it's not an instant, you take 1. If it is an instant, they take 1. So read your cards fully. Don't lose games of Magic because you don't read. I think.
And don't be one of those guys who's like, oh wait, never mind. I don't want to do that. Like after you realize it'll make you lose.
Check for Traps was our first uncommon. This is now our second uncommon. Big red goblin.
Normally these goblins are pretty weak, but have those abilities, that red is known for, where you can use it as many times as you want. It's not a 2 and tap.
This one's pretty good for an uncommon goblin.
Yeah, goblins you control get +1/+1 or +1/+0 and gain haste, and you could pay 6 for that, and it'd be +3/+0. Yeah. And whenever it attacks, if you attacked with other total power greater than this creature, create a 1/1 goblin that's tapped and attacking. Okay, so yeah, this guy is just trying to get you a bunch of tokens and make them strong.
So Pack Tactics is another new mechanic. I'm pretty sure it's not been printed before. It's actually an ability of a lot of swarm packs monsters in the monster bank. Yeah. So it makes
Wolves
sense.
are the one that you see the most at the beginning of games.
Wolves,
with
goblins, I think some kobolds have it. Anything you see in swarms. And it's basically if they attack with creatures total power 6 or greater, then they get bigger, which makes sense flavor-wise, and it's just actually pretty strong.
Yeah.
That was our second uncommon. This is our last uncommon. Power of Persuasion. I don't even know what this does. What does this do?
So this is another D20 card. 1 through 9, choose a target creature and return it to its owner's hand. 10 through 19, the owner puts it on top of their library. 20, you gain control of it until the end of the turn.
So,
but it only costs 3, so it's kind of a mind control that doesn't cost 5 if you roll a D20.
This is, there's a blue card, there's a blue control, a couple blue control cards in every set, but this kind of shoves all those things together, and it only gives you 1 depending on the die roll. So it's like, it kind of fits the role of a lot of different cards they could have put in that slot. But, yeah. All right, and they're rare. Dancing Sword. I love Dancing Swords.
I have not seen this. Equipped creature gets +2/+1. When equipped creature dies, you may have Dancing Sword become a 2/1 construct with flying and ward 1. You want to explain wards for him?
Wards kind of existed in the last couple sets, but it's still a pretty new mechanic. Basically means if you want to target it, you have to do an extra thing. Ward 1 means you have to pay 1 mana. There's a couple cards that are like, you have to ward 3 life, so you have to pay 3 life if you want to target it. There's a Crazy Dragon in that set that's like ward 4. You have to pay 4 if you want to target it. And it goes on the stack, so you can like
equip something that already has ward, and then it has an even bigger ward.
If something has like ward 4 and they target it with like a kill spell, they target with a kill spell, the ward goes on the stack, they have to pay 4 mana, and then after they pay 4 mana, you can respond after that with countering their spell in the first place. So they've paid all that mana and they don't even get to kill the creature. Ward's neat. But yeah.
So the order of operations puts them paying the ward, even, I guess, instance you can kind of use whenever you say you use them.
Yeah. So is the flavor here that you equip a sword to a creature, right? And when the creature dies,
it becomes its own. It keeps fighting without the creature, I suppose.
But is the sword like gain your soul now? Is the sword animated with the power of your soul? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. Okay, we got a forest. That's not exciting. I'm not going to talk about that because I want to talk about this. We got our first dungeon.
Oh, and it's the Tomb of Annihilation. You'll if you're familiar with D&D, recognize kind of all these classic dungeons for sure.
Yeah, Tomb of Annihilation. A recently remade module for 5e. I say recently. It's like past 3-4 years, something like that. Based on the original Tomb of Horrors. Yes. Much less brutal than Tomb of Horrors, but Tomb of Annihilation is still no joke. But moving into the magic part of it, this is our first dungeon. And as you can see, this one has a couple different tracks. 1 room, 2 room, 3 room, 4 room. Or you can go here, 1 room, 2 room, 3 room. So, every time you venture into the dungeon, you're going to start and I'm so blind here.
So the way the dungeons work is when you venture into a dungeon or enter a dungeon,
you start in room 1.
You start in room 1, and it says each player loses 1 life. That's the first room of this. And then say you draw one of those other cards, and when it comes into play or whatever, you choose to move forward. So you'll have, for most dungeons, 2 different paths to choose from, with different results happening each time you enter a room.
This dungeon is particularly brutal.
Yes.
This is the easiest dungeon to complete if you just want to speed run dungeons. If you want to, you can just start here and then go to Oubliette, which is discard a card, sacrifice a artifact, a creature, and a land. And once you get through there, venture 1 more time and you're done with the dungeon. Right. You could do it in 3 cards. 3 cards. However, that implies you're going through Oubliette, and Oubliette is brutal. You have to lose a creature, an artifact, and a land. So, if you're winning, you can just speed run through Tomb of Annihilation over and over and over, and just because when you get to the end of it, you get an atropole.
Right. And do you have to draw these cards? No. There is
It's on the back.
Right. And so when you choose to enter a dungeon, assuming you have all 3 dungeon cards, you as the player get to choose which one you would like to go through, no matter what.
Yep.
But you can only be in one at a time as well.
Yep. And if anyone watched we actually did an opening of some Icons of the Forgotten Realms Boneyard miniatures, and we actually pulled one of these. Big old actual. Is that here?
What was it?
We pulled the mini of this thing. It's a fetus of an aborted god.
Oh, let's find it.
See if we can find it, because it's around here somewhere. Oh, here it is, yeah. So if you're wondering, if anyone plays Magic and you're wondering what this looks like, this is exactly what it is. And if you watch our video, we actually pulled this fine fellow, which is exactly the 4/4 Death Touch actionable that you make for completing Tomb of Annihilation. Which is, it's terrifying. What is it? The aborted fetus of an undead god, basically. It's just not a good time.
And that's just a token.
And that dungeon, I think that's the high point of everything we really wanted to deep dive into. So we're probably going to speed it up just a tad here. I think we'll show new commons and uncommons, but we're probably going to speed it up just a bit. I think you guys get the gist of what's in it now.
Yeah, and we'll definitely touch on all the rares or mythics that we get.
We're going to focus on rares and strong uncommons at this point.
So, Steadfast Paladin, little lifelink guy. Secret Door we've seen before, Swarming Goblins, Devour Intellect, Find the Path we've seen, +2 Mace, Polymorph, Gem Wanderer. This is a good one to look at. Baleful Beholder.
Is this our first sketch card?
This is our first sketch card. So we were talking about how the art was going to be different on some of these. So this is kind of a classic art on a Beholder. And this is also one of those choice cards that you will see there that we've already been over before. But very cool art that they put in here. Minimus Container is another enchantment aura.
Turns anything to a treasure.
That's right. Lightfoot Rogue. This is a sneak attack mechanic, so whenever it attacks, you roll a d20 as opposed to when you first start, okay?
More d20 stuff.
Uncommon. Monk of the Open Hand. It has Flurry of Blows, which we know all monks love. Whenever you cast your second spell, put a +1/+1 counter on him.
That Steadfast Monk, not usually much talk about him, but there's actually a Planeswalker in this set that I'll bring it up if we pull him. We probably won't, but that actually pulls him from the deck. So that card kind of better than it looks like.
Yeah. This is our last kind of mechanic, and this is an enchantment.
Barbarian class.
And to my knowledge, I think they have most of all the basic 5e
there is
classes.
Every single class in here, unless you want to include like Artificer.
Right.
But yeah, every class that's in the player's handbook is in here.
So a lot of people are probably familiar with the old creatures that you could level up over time by paying mana costs. Mm-hmm. This is just the enchantment version of that, right?
Yeah, they're kind of like sagas if anyone's played Theros or a couple of other sets, but they don't tick up automatically. You have to pay the mana over time. Mm-hmm. And you don't lose the abilities, you gain all of them. Just kind of like in a real D&D. Like if you're playing a barbarian, you pay more mana, you get... that's cumulative.
You still, better and better. At level 3, you can still use your level 1 and level 2 ability.
Yep.
Yeah.
And all the classes work like that. And I think that's the final big mechanic we really wanted to talk about.
Right. So now we'll go into our rare, which is Guardian of Faith. Okay.
More phasing.
Flash, Vigilant, and phasing. So definitely very strong. Only 3 cost for a 3/2 with all those things, which is nice.
That's our, third rare?
That is our third rare. And here's our second dungeon as well. Dungeon of the Mad Mage. As you can see, a bit more busy than the Tomb of Annihilation.
This is the biggest dungeon in the set.
Yeah. So, just a lot of different things to go through. Not all bad in this one. I think the Tomb of Annihilation is pretty much all bad stuff, but this is creating treasure tokens or exiling stuff, creating black skeletons.
Tomb hurts everyone and then gives you a big thing. The other 2 gives you small incremental advantages, and that's the ones you're going to see most of the time. A lot of people tend to stay away from Tomb because it can kill you. All right, next pack. I got a Steadfast Paladin, the lifelink Paladin we talked about. What is this? Horde Robber. That's new. Normally not exciting, but this is the first time Tiefling's been printed in D&D. That's all there really is to say about that. Tiefling's officially a creature type. That's interesting. Veteran Dungeoneer. Cool. Just a white dungeon delver. Shortcut Seeker. Well, we just pulled this is like the pack of dungeons. Just everything in the set puts you into the dungeon. More commons. Fireball. We already talked about that. Devouring Intellect. Here's a 3-mana cleric that draws you a card. Priest of Ancient Lore. That's new. Haven't seen that yet. Should we talk about this? We should probably talk about this. Not this card isn't all that interesting, but more sketches. I think we should like put all the sketches to the side, look at them at the end of the thing.
Yeah.
Shasira, Death's Whisper.
Another legendary creature. This
uncommon legendary.
This is our first multicolor in this set I think we pulled. So not a lot of multicolor cards in this.
This set is basically all monocolored things. There's only a couple, but this is interesting because it's a gold bordered monocolor or dual colored legendary creature that's an uncommon. It's not even, doesn't have the decency to be a rare. But she's pretty cool. I like green-black cards. Green dragon. Here's our first dragon.
Heyo! And they have, green, black.
Yeah, there is one of every chromatic dragon, which is green, red, black, white, blue, which is, ironically, the colors of Magic.
Right, yeah. That's what I thought was cool, too.
Yeah.
And they'll... there's also some more legendary dragons as well that we might pull.
Well, we got this rogue guy who's really not that exciting because I just saw the next card in the pack and I'm super excited to talk about it.
Okay.
So, if you know blue-black rogues, this guy does blue-black rogue stuff. He just, makes things unblockable. So you get him with Thieves' Souls, you're pretty good. That's enough about him. He's not important because we got the deck of many things.
Oh, one of our favorite.
Is this our first Mythic?
This is our first Mythic that we pulled. Mythics, of course, you can tell by the orange coloring there.
And in true, roll the dice fashion, there's some really good options on this card. There's some really bad options on that card. You pay 2 mana, you roll a dice, and you could get anything from you get a free creature to you just discard your hand. you just leave it all in.
And that is very deck of many things. If you've ever been in a campaign where somebody has that and you have that guy who wants to keep drawing and pressing his luck.
Yeah, don't play with the deck of many things, kids. It's almost never worth it.
Yeah.
I got a duplicate uncommon, a land, and a token. Don't need to talk about any of that.
All right, so Unexpected Windfall. This is our first one to this. As additional cost of this, discard the card, draw 2 cards, and create 2 treasure tokens.
Whole lot of treasure in this set.
Whole lot of treasure. Plummet, which has been a card in D&D and Magic for a long time.
Classic Plummet. Kills a creature. Kills flyers.
Gloomstalker, little double strike, as long as you've completed that dungeon. So definitely good later game.
Gloomstalker, the objectively best ranger in the game.
This is a creature with an ability that is, instead of paying mana, you roll dice for it. A little Cone of Cold. Hoarding Ogre, another one. That you will roll for, creating treasure tokens, of course.
Remember I said there's a lot of treasure in this set.
Feign Death has been in Magic before.
Yeah, if a creature dies, it comes back.
Yep.
Classic stuff.
Inspiring Bard is super fun. You choose either Bardic Inspiration to give +2/+2 or Song of Rest to gain 3 life. Bard stuff.
I will say I love the named mechanics.
Yeah.
That's not really been a thing in Magic, as far as I can remember. Like, this ability is specifically called Bardic Inspiration.
Right.
Like, it's titled. That's really cool. They didn't have to do that. That was just some extra, and I appreciate that.
So this one, whenever it attacks, venture into the dungeon. Definitely they really want you to go into the dungeons with a lot of these cards.
Big white bomb if you're in limited playing draft. You really want that big flyer.
Null Hunter, Pack Tactics that we talked about earlier on that.
Pack Tactics.
Pegasus, flying, basically like a little, forget the name of the mechanic, but flying stuff. Lightfoot Rogue we've already done. Feywild Trickster is cool. So whenever you roll 1 or more dice, create a little fairy and dragon, little 1/1 with flying. I really like that card.
That draft I referenced earlier that I was playing earlier today had 2 of those, and it just had fairies everywhere.
Yeah.
There's so much rolling dice.
Here's another one of those human elf cards that he was talking about. This is one of our uncommons as well. Divine Intervention, which is a spell from D&D, of course. So when it enters the battlefield, you can search your library for an enchantment card, reveal it, and then put it on top.
So if you want to tutor for any bonkers enchantment, that's the way to do it.
Yep. And then we have one of our bard's very most favorite spells with some pretty hilarious art, actually. Just a little tiefling making a dragon cackle with Tasha's hideous laughter.
Tasha's hideous laughter. Mono blue doing mill stuff. What is this, like 20 cards you mill? Exile until player is exiled, total mana cost of 20 or more. So, every land that they hit with that is just free because the lands are CMC 0.
Yep.
So if you hit 5, if you have 5 lands on top, you get rid of all those, and then you start counting.
Yeah.
This card is very simple.
And I think that one had a pretty funny flavor text. The raging Bahir reared back, opened its terrible maw, and collapsed into a fit of horrifying giggles.
That's funny. Okay. Let's see what we got. Another Arcane Investigator. Okay. New enchantment. Delver's Torch. A few more dungeon stuff. Another Nullhide. Another Manticore. Power Word Kill. Hey. Kills anything other than, what is it? Dragons, angels, demons, that stuff.
Devils, yeah.
Nothing really in this pack except for
our second mythic.
The Book of Exalted Deeds.
Okay, legendary artifact. At the beginning of your instep, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, create a 3/3 white angel creature token with flying. Pay 3 and tap. You can exile the Book of Exalted Deeds, put an enlightened counter on target angel. It gains. You can't lose the game, and your opponents can't win the game.
Yeah, just there's a card called Platinum Angel that says your opponent can't win the game and you can't lose the game, and this basically just makes any angel you have a Platinum Angel. So, hey, do you like dying? Do you not like dying? Because that's how you never die.
We got new equipment over here. Spare Dagger. Just does a little 1 pop if you choose to sacrifice it.
+1. Makes sense. You're throwing a dagger.
Hobgoblin Captain with some pack tactics. Charm Sleep, blue doing blue things. Tap, don't untap during your next untap phase.
Blue doing blue things.
Manticore with that classic art, very cool. I really like these classic art cards. We had our Barbarian class earlier. This is our Warlock class, 3 different things. Magic Missile, can't be countered, and it's a red card, which I find interesting. Fits for red magic-wise.
Like evocation, I guess?
Yeah, sure. But it does 3 damage among 1, 2, or 3 targets. Can't be countered. Good stuff. Aberrant Mind Sorcerer. One of those roll cards as well. And our third Mythic.
Hey.
The Tarask. It is a 10/10. Has haste and ward 10. As long as it was cast. Whenever it attacks, it fights target creature defending player controls. When it rises, nations fall. Of course, it's expensive, but luckily it is green, and you probably mana ramped a lot.
Yeah. I kind of cheated, went through this pack early. Highlights, only really interesting things here. Spike Pit Trap, it's D&D, there's Spike Pits. We got a sketch version of Hama Pashar, Ruin Seeker. She doubles up your dungeon, so every time you go in a dungeon, she'll trigger twice for you. Neat. She's uncommon, not super exciting, but the art is cool. But fancy rare, Sphere of Annihilation.
Ooh.
Sphere of Annihilation, famously from the Tomb of Annihilation. Well, not from, but is included in the Tomb of Annihilation. Is an artifact that is wielded by Acererak, the antagonist of Tomb of Annihilation storyline. So, this card is kind of what black does. It's removal. Mm-hmm. The mechanic of that card is not all that interesting, but there's a Sphere of Annihilation magic now.
Just in case we needed
Just in case we needed more Annihilation.
We're doing the highlights now from each pack. So this is a Frost Giant. It's got some warding. Make sure these cards are not colored anyway, except for the mana cost in the top right. So when you're building decks, make sure you're paying attention to that. Plate Armor. Some classic plate gives you +3/+3 in Ward 1. Super nice. We have Critical Hit. So we've had a lot of D20 cards come up with this instant card. Target creature gains double strike until the end of turn, and when you roll a natural 20 on any roll card, you can return that from your graveyard back to your hand.
So just be lucky.
Just be lucky all the time, and then you can do better stuff. Wild Shape only costs 1. For me, as an uncommon, this card isn't my favorite. Until the end of turn, you can become a 1/3 turtle with hexproof, 1/3 spider with reach, 1/3 elephant with trample. Definitely versatility-wise, I guess, if you need to kill one of the 1/1 fairy dragon tokens, real quick. This is our first rare class. The other 2 were uncommon, and it is the paladin class. Very cool. And we also have our very first shiny. Very first hollow.
Hey,
this is a land. If you control 2 or more other lands, Cave of the Frost Dragon enters tapped. It adds a plains, and it becomes a 3/4 white dragon creature with flying if you pay some money.
There is a creature land for every color.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. I opened this pack early. There is a new sketch version of Cloister Gargoyle, more dragon or more dungeon stuff. Not all that exciting by itself, but the sketch is neat. We got another land, Treasure Vault, which just lets you store up some mana, makes a whole lot of treasures. Guys, there's a lot of treasures in this set. That was our rare for that pack, and the only other interesting thing is we got our final dungeon, which is the one that I go into all the time. Lost Mines of Phandelver. Lost Lines of Phandelver is the adventure that is included in the starter set. If you buy the original 5e starter set, and it's basic and it's bare bones, but it's pretty funny that they made the starter dungeon for this game, the one you want to go in the most of the time, the actual starter dungeon for 5e. So I don't know if they did that on purpose, but it makes a whole lot of sense.
Yep. So going ahead and to our next thing, we have the Earth Cult Elemental. They have elementals of each cult kind of based on the land, so they have one of each for those. A ghoul, sacrificing stuff. Hill Giants, which we haven't seen. Price of Loyalty, gain control of target creature until end of turn. Precipitous Drop is about adventuring. Here we have our uncommon. This card is going to go good in a dragon deck, as it is the Dragon's Disciple.
Dragon stuff.
Next up, we have our Skullport Merchant, creating treasure tokens and such.
Yep, treasures.
And you meet in a tavern. This is one of our dual choice cards: form a party or start a band, or start a brawl. Excuse me. And our rare card for this is going to be our Teleportation Circle. It's an enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, exile up to 1 target artifact or creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. So that's going to be cool for keeping a creature you want safe when it is the other person's turn.
My next pack, it was a whole bunch of reprints, but I got 2. I don't know if we talked about Burning Hands yet, but we got 2 iconic D&D spells, Burning Hands, deal some damage, and a little bit stronger, True Polymorph. Being the rare of the pack, just turns any creature into any other creature. So it's like, all right, your crazy Tarask is now a 1/1 elf.
Yeah.
That's just you're an elf now. Deal with it. All right.
This is a pretty strong pack. Some basics: Boots of Speed, giving you haste and whatnot. Gloomstalker, about double strike in dungeons.
Yeah.
Scion, that was the Cone of Cold one we went over earlier. Planar Ally, been turned into the dungeons. Here we have a classic D&D monster in the classic kind of format. We like showing these. This is a Mimic.
Everyone loves,
of course, and every special art card also has a standard art as well.
Yeah.
So these are a bit more rare. Here we have the Devil's Chosen, flying and
Farida herself.
Menace. Yes.
Farida's Fireball, we talked about earlier, does stuff with rolling dice. Mm-hmm. This is the protagonist of the Brimstone Angels series.
Yeah. We also got another.
She's dope. I like Farida a lot. I'm biased.
We also have that blue and black one we had earlier.
Silly Rogue.
And Temple of the Dragon Queen. Obviously, there's a campaign or module that is about Horde of the Dragon Queen. So that is going to be a land.
Rise of Tiamat.
And our rare this time, if you would create one or more treasure tokens, instead create those tokens plus an additional one.
Zorn!
So that's going to get you nice and ramped up, kind of using red, actually.
Yeah. Zorns, I believe, are also another classic D&D monster.
Okay, and this is a land that has a different art style based on the old kind of small, thin pack modules you used to get.
They're based on the modules, and that's actually pretty cool.
And that's a hollow one as well. So a hollow module land, and that is the rarity.
And you're beating me on the packs. All my packs are bad. I got a whole bunch of reprints that we already talked about, and I do have a Circle of Dreams Druid, which is a pretty new archetype for Druid. I
was about to say, Circle of Dreams has not been around a long time.
At least not the 5e version. It may have been like in an older edition. I'm not aware of, but Circle of Dreams Druid, it just makes much mana. It's essentially like a Gaia's Cradle. If anyone, the land Gaia's Cradle, that's like $300 right now.
This is our Death Touch, kind of venturing into dungeon. Got some stuff we've already seen. Bullets, I think, are cool. Just little land sharks.
Land shark!
Ooh, and here we have a red dragon with a kind of more special art than our dragon we pulled earlier. But we know we're going to have one of those. We have Kaline. I'm not sure what that is from. Kaline.
Yeah, she's a character inside of a Waterdeep Dragon Heist adventure.
Okay.
She makes paintings, and sometimes they come to life, and sometimes those paintings eat you.
Yeah. So. A little maybe Dorian Gray inspiration there.
Potentially.
We got a nice troll. It's uncommon as well. And we have another. I just pulled another one. This one's not hollow.
Man, all your packs are hot.
I got hot hands today.
I pulled like 3 duds.
Cave of the Frost Dragon, which is that module land, which is super cool. I love how many different art styles they've done with these cards.
Many different variants.
And they're really paying homage to all of D&D by doing this sort of thing.
My packs are booty, so a bunch of reprints we've already talked about, and I got a treasure chest, which is cool. It's kind of like the watered down version of a deck of many things. It's you roll a dice, pay mana, and then something okay happens. You just make sure it's not doesn't have the crazy upside of deck of many things, but also doesn't have the crazy downside of deck of many things.
Yeah, little Goblin Invader, some classic cards, just a little common. So a lot of the cards say if you used a treasure to cast it, something additional happens. So Hired Hexblade does some good stuff.
Reprint.
I showed you just earlier. Here is a side-by-side of 2 cards that are the same. One in the classic art, one in the kind of regular art. So each of these classic cards does have a counterpart that you can look at. I got another classic card, the Owlbear, super tight, trample appropriately. We have our Bag of Holding.
There you go.
A necessity for every D&D campaign. And our rare in this pack is the white. Enters the battlefield tapped and has some life drain, which does not give you life. It does not.
It drains the life out of them and it makes zombies.
It makes zombies, yeah.
I got a little elf cleric that gets bigger every time you gain life. So all those earlier white cards we've seen, there's a little green-white life gain archetype that they kind of want you to build and draft.
Green and white is always what they want you to do, isn't it?
I got a classic art bugbear, whatever. But one of my favorite cards, Skeletal Swarming. Skeletal Swarming.
I do like that card a lot too.
Makes a skeleton. If a creature dies at the end of the turn, you make 2 skeletons instead, and they get way bigger. That card's super cool. Skeletons haven't really been a thing too much in Magic, so nice that the D&D set is introducing something new.
Dragonfire, little red damage. Fate Reversal is just a black, bring card back from your graveyard. We saw our Circle of the Dreams Druid, but of course they have the classics in there as well. Circle of the Moon. A couple things we've already seen. A green card that if you venture into the dungeon and put a land out, you're good. Goblin Morningstar is an equipment. Does some good stuff.
Makes a zombie or a goblin.
You've already seen that. And here's our rare for this pack. It is Triumphant Adventurer, black and white. Another interesting combination. Death Touch, and it has first strike on your turn, and when it attacks, you venture.
Yeah.
Only a 1/1, but the Death Touch, of course, makes that guy.
This card is deceptively annoying because it has Death Touch, and when it attacks, it has First Strike. And if you know how Death Touch First Strike interacts, you attack, and if you block
you do damage first.
Yeah, so you will always kill everything unless your defending creature has, like, indestructible. So this card is very good. Very, very good.
Yep, and that is why it is gold.
I picked up a Monk class.
Oh, nice.
And, you know, monks, historically, flurry blows, attacking a lot. So the flavor of this is when you cast your second spell, you get bonuses. So it wants you to play a bunch of things in a bunch of turns, kind of like monks play in D&D. So it makes sense there. I got Targ Nar Demon Fang Knoll. This is one of the few cards I have absolutely no idea what the context of. He's a random knoll, and I guess he's legendary. Yeah. So I don't know the story on this guy. Sorry, guys, I've let you down. And that's all that was in that pack. So a bunch of reprints. I'll save you some time.
So this one is cool for the dice mechanic. Yep. It's a little pixie guide. So if it's out and you want to roll one dice, instead you can roll +1 and ignore the lowest roll. So this is advantage, basically.
Yeah, you roll with advantage, 100%.
You roll with advantage, which
the Barbarian class that we pulled earlier does essentially the same thing. But, you know, redundancy. I got a doggo.
Well, it's like we gotta have each card do it. The Guild Thief, or each color do it. Excuse me. 50 feet of rope, equipment that you're always gonna need.
Check out my doggo.
Oh, the Loyal Warhound. Vigilance is one of my favorite mechanics in Magic the Gathering.
He just gives you a land. If you're stuck on lands, he's a good boy and he retrieves a land for you.
Yeah. This is Chaos Channeler. And we have our gold. Our gold is going to be a classic one, and it is the Mind Slayer, Dominate Monster. When Mind Slayer enters the battlefield, you gain control as long as you control Mind Slayer. So this is not for one turn. This is
flaying. In the Fid.
Just Mind Slayer things, or Mind Flayer things.
Mind Flayer things. Boring. Okay. I got a boring version of a creature land. Turns into a giant. I think it's like 7 mana to activate, but turns into a big 7/7 giant. I think these lands are probably one of the most exciting things in this set. Yeah. They're subtle. They don't seem all that exciting, but
there were some old green cards that were like tree ents that would turn into it, and I used to use those all the time because there was a creature that went with it. Displacer Beasts, I just really like the art for this card. I think Displacer Beasts are one of the coolest monsters.
That's the thing about the set. Some of these cards are just
cool.
Okay, but the art is just so dope.
Gretchen Titchwillow. We finally have our white dragon now. Doing some cold stuff, of course. And our artifact that is our rare for this pack is a Wizard Spellbook, which is one of those D20 rolls.
And to go along with that, I pulled the Wizard class.
Oh, heyo. Wizard class being blue. I think no one was...
no one is surprised.
Everyone knew that was going to happen. Ooh. Got something good?
I pulled Orcus, Sons of Undeath. Famous wielder of the Staff of Orcus, the Wand of Orcus. This card's dope. If you only have 4 mana, it's a 5/3. If you have more than 4 mana, it's a 5/3 that comes out and kills a bunch of stuff, or it brings something back. Basically, what you would expect Orcus, the Prince of Undeath, to do: kill stuff or bring things back from the graveyard. Big zombie energy.
Here's your card for drawing for each color card. So I'm gonna probably put that in my 5-color deck. My Complex dungeon map. This is good to have in any deck where you're trying to delve dungeons. We have Hollow Secret Door, which is just fun. And we have Zalto Fire Giant Duke as our rare red card with trample.
It'd be fun for like a one shot.
What's that?
Just to take like a couple of all of these classes because coincidentally I pulled a ranger class and a wizard class in the same set. I just take a bunch of these classes and like shuffle them up, and just like, all right,
that's who you play.
Yeah, well, everyone pick 2. You're multi-classing that. Figure it out.
Right.
Just do like a one shot with like 30 minutes to prep.
Yeah.
That'd be a neat thing to do one day. That's how I get my jollies.
Yeah.
But I
you could probably work something out where like you draw 7 cards and like that's what you can do on your turn in the game. Yeah. And you're like, ooh, I drew a Kona Full card, like no matter what level you are, sort of thing. Yep. Ooh, this one's fun. It's uncommon and it's really expensive, but target creature gets -11, -11.
Do you hate creatures? Do I have a card for you? I'm pulling all the classes now. I got a druid class.
Ooh.
This one's uncommon.
Hopefully we get them all.
And to go with our previously pulled Book of Exalted Deeds, I also have the Book of Vile Darkness.
Ooh,
the counterpart.
Yeah.
This one is considerably worse than the good one, but 2 mythics. We got the full set there.
We're doing pretty good on mythics. Just another dryad with some classic art. Cool. We've seen our air elemental druid now. Yep. So we have our Archfiend, Double God. Not honestly too good, but
it's Asmodeus. He's super cool though.
Got our cleric class and our fighter class. Fighter class is actually dual color.
White red.
Little going into the dungeon, black and white guy, and then we have Fly, which is only cost 1, gives your creature flying, and has that venture into the dungeon mechanic as well.
Right, I did not have a pack reps. Let's go. What else we got? Ooh, have we showed Drider yet?
I don't think so.
Any Drow fans here? Oh, I dropped it. Yeah, when it attacks, make spiders. Drider thing. And then the rare was a reprint. So, what you got?
Let's see. We got our Moon Dancer, legendary creature, a little elf cleric action, gaining some life, getting some extra stuff. We have our Green Dragon appearing. Ooh, finally.
Fancy Green Dragon.
Fancy. Werewolf Pack Leader is our rare card. That's our pack tactics.
Very good card in standard.
Haste and toughness 5/5, gaining trample for all your creatures. Super nice.
I got 2 classic arts. West Monster, classic monster. Will eat your armor. You don't want to hit it with your best sword, trust me. And what is this? Westgate Regent. Very good vampire. We talked about ward earlier. Sometimes you have to pay life, sometimes you pay mana. This one, you have to discard a card if you want to target it. So if you top deck a kill spell and you target it and you don't have another card to discard, it just fizzles. Yeah. So, yep. He'll 2-for-1 you.
We saw the plate armor earlier. They also have crappier stuff like leather armor.
Leather armor. What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? Ray of Enfeeblement, nice little spell, does extra to white creatures. We got our first.
Hey, it's our boy. We talked about Mordenkainen earlier.
We did.
So this is my spiel. Let me open my last pack before I talk about this.
Okay.
So make sure.
We also have little Wild Mage as our rare.
Yeah. Is this the last pack? Yeah.
I'm
all right. Let me open my last pack. Normal. What's a rare? The actual factual wish spell.
Oh my god. You may play a card from outside the game this turn.
Yeah, that card has weird rulings with it. If you're playing that in standard or modern or a normal format, outside of the game means in exile or in your sideboard. So you can pull a card from your sideboard.
Not anywhere in your
you can't pull a Black Lotus from your. I don't know who would have a Black Lotus in their binder, but you can't pull a Soul Ring from your binder.
Right.
But yeah, super cool that there's an wish spell, which is dope. All right, Mordenkainen. Let's see how long I actually have to ramble about this. So, Planeswalkers and Planeswalker Spark is like a very specific thing. That means something very specific in general. Obviously, D&D is a different universe that sparks aren't really a thing. So the way they chose to handle Planeswalkers in this set was they just kind of took some godly beings or people with essentially the planes. My brain is dying. The Planeswalk spell. Not teleport.
Like,
Plane shift. Plane shift. Yeah. They took people who basically have the capability of casting plane shift, and have canonically been through to different planes. They're like, you're a planeswalker now.
Yeah.
So Mordenkainen does not have a planeswalker spark. Neither does Lolth. Neither does Zariel or any of the other planeswalkers. But they just kind of chose a couple iconic heroes and anti-heroes and made them planeswalkers, which I think is it's a fine way to do it. It's not exactly elegant, but it's clear enough to where if you kind of squint, it's fine.
Right.
It kind of rubbed a couple people the wrong way. Yeah, it's not what planeswalker means, but Mordenkainen has canonically moved to different planes, so he does not have a planeswalker spark, but he's essentially he can move from plane to plane. So.
And you're going to run into that, and I'm sure they knew. Maybe that's why it took them so long to create Magic the Gathering D&D thing.
Yeah,
because it is an entirely separate universe. I mean, it is the rules are different. Like fundamentally, the rules of the universes are different.
It's nice that they cross the streams. There's D&D cards in my Magic game, but it's not like Mordenkainen's walking up to Jace and is like, "Hey man, you want to learn how to do more mind stuff? I can show you things."
Right.
Because if it was like fully integrated, there would be like, how continue like what even is.
Magic.
I don't know.
Like magic just works.
It's just not work the
different.
Same. There's no concept of like different colors of mana in D&D. So
right.
I think it's fine to do it the way they did.
His -10 is you have no maximum hand size.
Yeah, he's going to be the top end of a lot of blue control decks.
Yeah.
You play 1 or 2 copies of him as the thing that ends the game is he makes a big old doggo token, which is I think they're trying to simulate the Mordenkainen's Faithful Hound spell.
Yeah.
Which is pretty awesome.
Big old dog
makes
equal to twice the number of cards in your hand.
Yep.
So definitely goes with our drawing theme of blue.
All right. Is he a mythic as well?
He is mythic.
How many total mythics did we get? It felt like a lot. Because I pulled like 3 or 4 by myself.
Yeah, I think
Let's do a quick highlight of the greatest hits here. I got all the rares. Did you get any mythics?
Yeah, I put them over here, I think. Yeah, I got the Tarask and Mordenkainen, I think, are the 2 I got.
So a total of 5 mythics. We may have missed 1 or 2, but that's about standard for a draft box. Mm-hmm. So not the best, not the worst, about standard, about what you could expect. But with this set, all the different variants of everything really makes it feel like you're getting more than your money's worth when you're buying a full draft box. There's just all these lands and these things and sketch arts and crazy dragon arts. There's so many different variants that it's super fun to pull stuff. Mm-hmm. And
there's some full art cards, and I think the 12 packs, the 12 card packs that take up the entire card, which is super cool.
Yeah. Your ratios aren't any better than a normal box,
right? But
there's just so many different variants. It's just super fun to open. So.
And they also have one other thing. They have some actual monster manual art. So like on the back of those full art cards, like I have a Tarask card, and on the back it has some monster manual stats. It's not a card you can use in the game, but just another cool thing they did. They did a lot of small, neat details with this set that you don't see a lot of.
It makes it super fun to open, which is why I think we really wanted to open.
Right.
At least a little bit of it.
Besides that,
any closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts. I really like this because I like Magic and I like D&D, and they put them together for us, and they came up with a lot of ideas that, like I said, and like we both said, surprised us, right?
If you are currently playing Magic and you're thinking of, dipping your toes in D&D, or if you play D&D and you're thinking of dipping your toes in Magic, this is a great way, either way, to just test the waters if you like at least the feel of it. Maybe not so much the mechanics, but just the lore and the ideas around the separate universe, multiverse, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Besides that, I think we're pretty much good. Make sure you like and subscribe for more D&D related content. I don't see us doing too much Magic in the future.
You never know.
Unless you guys like that.
Yeah, let us know if that's something you're into.
We'll just do that as well.
We're malleable. We're flexible.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Thanks.
See you guys.